For the parents who are waiting, particularly that had children in Camp Mystic. Camp Mystic is a camp that has over 750 kids. Right now, there are 20 some that aren't accounted for. That does not mean they've been lost. They could be in a tree. They could be out of communication. We're praying for all of those missing to be found alive.
Let's bring in CNN's Ed Lavandera, who joins us over the phone as he is on his way to one of the affected areas. Ed, what more do we know?
Well, Boris, we know that this is unraveling to be a nightmare situation for hundreds, if not thousands of families in this Texas Hill Country, Central Texas region where rainfall has fallen. Not only has, as what the lieutenant governor there said, that there are still some 20 children believed to be missing from that Camp Mystic, which is a popular camp that children attend during the summer here in Texas. But the sheriff is also now saying that there are at least 13 dead, and that death toll could continue to rise in the hours ahead as crews are still trying to search for survivors or any of the victims that are still in the path of the Guadalupe River there in the Kerr County area. This is an area where rainfall has fallen for almost 24 hours in very intense ways. And it's not just there in Kerr County, but the rainfall areas have dramatically affected much of central Texas as well. So as we've been driving in, we're still we're making our way through the Texas Hill Country, and there are rivers and creeks.
Mia, you've been talking about this a lot. You said you were very emotional when this happened. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so when I first saw the footage and heard of this, I'm going to be dead ass. I was driving and I was crying because I have, my children are going to be at camp next week. And I cannot fathom dropping my children off, saying goodbye, and realizing that is the last time I'm ever going to see them. And then to know that drowning is not an easy way to go. And there's nothing that I could possibly say to alleviate any pain from any of these families. And I think everybody needs to pray for Texas, also New Mexico now, because now they are undergoing some of similar things. And there have been a couple toddlers or young children as well who have lost their lives with these quickly moving flash floods. For me, it's unfathomable. I can't even imagine.
For sure. Heaven?
It's devastating. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't put myself in those parents' shoes. But also I feel like the government's response has been shameful, not only on the federal level, but on the state level. Thank God for Mexico, actually, for coming in with their special teams that I guess they have overflowing flood issues with rivers down there. So they have special training, and Mexico still has hundreds of people down there in Texas helping. So although we are hunting people down and deporting them, the global community still has care in their hearts, more so I feel than our government does for the people of Texas, and understanding that they're human beings and feeling their pain.
Enzo?
No, I just think it's a absolutely terrible situation all around. You had a flash flood who really thought the water would raise 36 feet in that quick of a succession. Like Mia said, I couldn't imagine being a parent and dropping my kid off at camp, and then I get that call, or we never hear from them again, and something like that happened. I will touch on. I'm not going to sit here and point the finger and say, well, the government this, the government that. The efforts that have been done from the government has been, in my opinion, good so far. I mean, we could talk about Mexico sending people over to help. Great. That's great. Why don't we highlight the American people and what they've done thus far? But the one Coast Guard's, the one guy from the Coast Guard who saved 100 over, I think it was like 165 people. I mean, and then Ted Cruz was on the phone with the president of right after it happened, saying, Donald Trump saying, whatever you need, you got it. They got National Guard there. They got Coast Guard there. They got everybody and anybody to help out and everything like that. This isn't, this administration's fault. This administration's fault. No, this is literally a life-changing event for us to just sit here and dehumanize people. Because I've been on TikTok and I lost my shit last night on somebody saying, oh, this is what they deserve. This is what Republicans deserve. This is what Texas deserved. I'm glad those kids are dead. And they're like, I'm like, are you serious right now? They're like, yeah, this is all because of Donald Trump. He has blood on his hands. He caused this. He's the reason for this all happening. How are you going to sit here and say that he caused a flash flood to happen for these people to unalive? Regardless, whoever is in office, we all need to come together. Red, blue,
That's the same
purple,
thing they
whatever
said
it is.
with Western North Carolina. Sorry to interject, but it's the
Oh, yeah,
same
no, you're
thing they
good.
said in Western North Carolina. Same exact thing.
I didn't hear anything like that of people on the right saying, oh, well, they deserve that because they voted for Biden or anything like that. And trust me, I paid attention to all that. I grew up in Florida with hurricanes and everything like that.
I live
Never in my
North Carolina.
life.
So
I got you. I'm
heard,
just saying I've
yeah,
never heard
yeah,
any of that.
yeah. No, it
I mean,
wasn't.
if
No,
that's
it
the
was
case, like
Biden's
that's
response, I would
unfortunate.
say.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, the response.
It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
the
I can.
response, not necessarily, but anybody saying that about children, period,
Yeah,
is
I know.
unacceptable.
That's what just gets under my skin and everything. Like at the end
Humans
of the
are
day, we're
humans.
all
It doesn't
Americans at the
matter
end
if
of the
you're
day. Yeah,
Republican or Democrat. That's not like, that doesn't, you're human. These are
exactly. No, I
children.
get what you're saying.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I
No, you're good.
want to
You're good.
highlight.
These are kids. These are kids. These are people. These are mothers. These are fathers.
I want to highlight John's comment because John actually lives there. His family, I think, got involved in a flood, and he's saying this could have been prevented. They had installed basic flooding warning systems. So I think we could have done more, is all I'm saying. We live in 2025. We have the technology. And he sent some pictures to Nora. I forgot to put them on here, but my bad, John. But he was watching us before, and then this happened to him. So prayers out to John. But go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, I seen the back and forth with people online, red and blue. I don't get into that. I don't really have a side usually. I just think that it's a tragedy what happened to kids. It's a tragedy what happened to these people. New measures need to be put in place going forward. And I think as far as, I mean, someone has to be held accountable. I mean, people are saying it's getting upward of 200 people lost their life. It isn't a moment most of us go out of this door or out of this house without a phone in our hand for some alert, for some sort of, warning to be given off to someone to try to make some attempt at something. So I think someone has to be held accountable and not fired and keep their pension and allowed to retire early. Like this needs to be life-changing for someone as it was life-changing for these people, because it's a life-changing situation. And it always hurts when you get to see it happen to kids, because that's potential that never gets to be realized. And I think that's something that's a big thing. That's a problem when a child doesn't get to realize their potential. Is nothing worse. So, prayers for all of those people. And I just hope, I hope we are taking the steps as Americans, red, blue, green, to make sure that these people get the things they need, the support they need, and that we can come together and get that done, because we send so much aid to other countries that, just over the years, over decades, we've spent so much money on foreign aid that, I think when it comes to American aid, it should be a no-brainer, so it wouldn't matter if Trump was in office, Obama was in office, whoever, it just needs to be done for the people. So
yeah, so I want to play one last quick video. It'll be quick because everybody basically went around with them talking about blame. So the big thing that people are talking about is that the Doge cuts, and the job that was cut is called the warning coordinated meteorologist. So they're trying to say that job wasn't filled, and that was like the issue. But this is Abby Phillips from CNN talking about it.
Of it all was essentially all the things that the federal government is spending money on for the most part is waste and fraud. But clearly, there are some things where spending money saves lives. And it may not save lives in the moment that you spend it, but at some point, somebody's life, somebody's child could have been saved.
Well, I think something that gets lost in this is the Doge cuts have actually not taken effect. They don't take effect until October 1st. And if you talk to the National Weather Service, they say we had 5 staffers instead of the normal 2 that were on hand. We were giving alerts on Thursday. And you're right, it did go back to the localities, but that's where the money goes. And it's up to a local municipality or a town to say, hey, yeah, we can afford this or we can't afford this. They put in for a federal grant. They didn't get it.
Oh, I'm glad you played that. Because I was going to mention that because I sent you guys the link to the Associated Press. So the plot thickens. Obviously, the Doge cuts hasn't taken effect. So we can't blame it on Doge if Doge hasn't cut any money. And then secondly, the Associated Press said normally that office in Houston, that particular part of Texas, only has 2 people, and that night they staffed it with 5, and they were actually alerting people over 24 hours in advance, like, phones, TV, telling everybody like, hey, this is going on. So I mean, it's super easy to be like, oh, there were these cuts and it's the forecaster's fault and da 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 da. But in actuality, they had over double than they normally would staff specifically for this. So, and then you have, the fire chief, Houston fire chief or whoever, he got fired because he's the one that denied the rescue swimmers. He knew in advance, obviously through the reporting, he denied rescue swimmers for money. That was his reasoning. He said he didn't want to spend the money. So I guess if we're going to point blame, we're going to have to point at that the fire chief that was fired, because he explicitly denied the use of his teams, of his firefighters that were rescue swimmers for that entire situation, which they could have been deployed like 24 hours in advance and obviously could have helped way ahead. Which I thought was interesting. Nobody's talking about that man who lost his job, who specifically said he didn't want to spend the money on saving children's lives.
For sure. So, Enzo, why didn't you just tell the person the Doge cuts didn't take effect when they were going off? Is that what they were trying to say?
They don't. I'm sorry to say it. Like, I've lost all faith, all humanity with people on the left. With most people on the left. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I've lost all faith doing TikTok debates. Like, I've literally lost it. People want to sit here and say, well, the right only lives in la la land and believes everything Donald Trump and Fox News tells us. But when you bring the facts and you bring the evidence and you bring the sources, they sit there and deny reality. They sit there and deny reality and be like, oh, that's fake. That's fake. That's all made up. That's not real. Literally give them the exact website, screenshot it, put it up in the background. Nope, that's fake. You made that up. I said exactly that. That doesn't go into effect until October. Nope, that's wrong. They cut those people. They don't have their jobs. There was only 2 people. There was only 2 people in that weather station. They didn't know. Nope, they did wrong. This is all because of them. This is what I hear on the daily with every little topic that I bring up. And I'm, like I said, I've lost it. Like I can't. I literally cannot deal with this anymore with the left. Like, you guys are so deluded over the last 4 years. You ate up every single thing, every little bit that CNN put out there and all your news stations. But they want to sit here and cast blame and say that we're uneducated, that we're low IQ. Like, I think it's ridiculous. Like, I really, really do.
I think you got to take a vacation from the lives because it's a lot of trolling on there too, for sure.
I'm trying.
Heaven, what do you think?
I understand that the Doge cuts didn't go into effect, but some people who were offered in the federal government, who were offered their early out, took an early retirement. So that one individual was not there. However, the alerts went out. I think it's not a Trump, Obama, Biden, whoever. I think the government fails the people in every national event because in the military, we have the capabilities. We could set up tents, cots, have a whole different tents all set up, take our buses because soldiers, a lot of them know how to drive buses because we have our own buses that we have to drive each other around and to things, and bust those people out of there, then have disaster crews go in and clean up so we don't have a loss of life. And it's a government's failure, not a failure of the people to get out of the way. A lot of people can't. A lot of people can't. It is the government's responsibility, regardless of who is in charge of the government. We pay taxes. Our taxes should go to things that protect us from things like natural disasters. Protecting us is not coming up in afterwards and picking up the bodies. No, that's reactionary. We're smarter than this as a nation. We can be better prepared than this as a nation, but we're not. And that's a governmental failure. And until we, the people, stand up and say, whoa, whoa, whoa. The government needs to be doing something with our tax dollars. You can't just deny funds. You can't just stop the FEMA funds that were going to North Carolina. You shouldn't have to pay FEMA funds after if you take people out first. Then you put crews in to go in and fix everything up as much as they can and let people pick their lives up without having to experience loss of life and such tragedies.
For sure. Doc?
And I mean, I'm not sure about some of the stuff about the government because I just wonder if some of this just like human negligence. Like you live in Florida, you done lived in Florida your whole life. Hurricanes are coming every year. No matter how bad they tell you are, sometimes you just stay in your house. You know what I mean? And that's just a reality. You know what I'm saying? That's how people actually, you know, react to things. And maybe it shouldn't be, but that's just the world we live in. And even the people who are screaming government cuts and stuff, I mean, I don't give the, you know, the government a break. Well, these are people who sit in the office looking at a computer. I've been in the middle of Iraq shorthanded, and nobody wants to hear about how many jobs and tasks you got. You know what I'm saying? You got to get it done, brother. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a hard thing because you look back and people lose their life and you just wondering how to do it differently. And just hopefully, you know, moving forward, they put better things in place. And this is an eye-opening event for people and they take it more seriously because something like this is, you know, just what, you know, unfortunately will change, you know, the way they handle it next time.
For sure, for sure. Doc and Heaven, do y'all know each other? No?
No.
Y'all was at Fort Drum. I was in a 210
Oh,
with Heaven, but I was at 215 with Doc. But she
oh,
didn't know me.
215. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no. I started out at 431, so don't try me, you know.
For sure, for sure. But Heaven, thank you for coming. Glad you showed
Thank you
up.
for having me. I
Give us
appreciate it.
give us your final thoughts and tell us what you think of the man cave.
Final thoughts. Final thoughts is regardless of left or right, we're human beings. And we are failing each other every single day. When we stand up and demand more, then we'll get more. We don't have to depend on the government for everything. Clean air, clean water, clean food, healthcare, education, those are all human rights. Without the government, nature and community provide those things. We don't need them. We need to stop dividing amongst each other. That's my final thoughts.
For sure. Mia, what's your final thoughts?
With so much just like uncertainty in our country, with what's happening with everything, honestly, we just need to come together. We are all Americans. The children that have been unalived in multiple states, New Mexico and Texas, those are American children. We need to come together. They're not red children, they're not blue children, they're not black children, they're not white children. They are children. I don't know how many times I have to say this. All children are innocent souls. Nobody should ever bring any sort of negativity or shame to that. We need to pray for Texas. We need to pray for New Mexico. And we just need to remember at the end of the day that we're American. These are American children, and we need to come together for our community and understand that. And we need to agree that regardless of color, regardless of socioeconomic status, that these are kids and we have to take care of them.
For sure. Enzo, your final thoughts?
So my final thoughts are very good episode. What a little bit of a different change from the man cave. I like the direction it was going. Heaven, thank you for coming. Like everybody has been saying, this is a human issue, not a red versus blue issue. We're all Americans at the end of the day. We need to bring that back. We need to come together when tragedies or anything like this happens, or even things like in what happened in Philly and everything like that. We got to stop looking at it like it's a low income or issue, a black issue, a white issue, whatever it is. That's a human issue. That's an American issue. We should all come together and we should do things to prevent those type of things in Philly. But Texas, it's just unfortunate. All of these major floods, these major storms going on across the nation, all at the same. It's wild. I've seen Chicago, New Mexico, Texas. It's very unfortunate. And my condolences go out to everybody who's unfortunately lost somebody because of what's been going on with these storms. We all need to do better. And it starts from the states all the way up to the government, to the people in it. Stop being so divisive. We need to help out as much as we can.
For sure. Doc, your final thoughts?
Man, it only takes an instant for your life to change, or the life of somebody you love to change. So, you got to celebrate the people you love, enjoy them, hug your kids, hug your mama, hug your granny, your daddy, give them a hug, give them a kiss. As far as we know, it's the only life we got right now. So, you got to enjoy it. So, shout out to everybody in the chat who, is having a good time tonight. And, yeah, man, let's all come together, man. Make sure you love your people.
For sure. Yeah, definitely a big shout out to the chat. It was definitely jumping tonight. Where's Volgar? Like Volgar, it seems like I'm hosting more and more on here. But definitely prayers out to Texas. And yeah, like hopefully the community can get better. And I agree with what everybody's saying, that, we need to come together so that we can do better. And I feel like that's the answer. We do this every Monday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's 7 p.m. Central time. Tomorrow on the new party, it'll be FBA versus non-FBA at 8 p.m. And then we do lunch with a new party at 12 p.m. So if you want to come back, come see that. And if you're watching, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to know we go live. Have a good night. Man Cave.